259. And if a separation has been pronounced between a man and woman, then it is not permitted for the man to demand back from the woman, or for the woman to demand back from the man anything that had been given to her or him during the course of the bond of marriage, unless the woman herself or the man himself wishes to give something back that was given to her or him. Therefore it is given that these imposed barriers shall be observed, although the purpose is not in order to gain freedom, because nothing shall be given to get it. Therefore these barriers shall not be overstepped, so that you will not be without equitableness, unfair ones / irresponsible ones / inequitable ones, and do not fall into the dependency of the other. 260. Just as children are no property of the parents, so no person of your kind, human being, is the property of another. Therefore servitude, bondage, and slavery amongst people of your kind, human beings, contravene the honor and dignity of people of your kind, human beings, and infringe the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation, and they go against love, freedom, peace and concord, harmony, which having controvertible value as the basic principle of the existence, and contain both equitableness, fairness, and dignity for people of your kind, humanity. 261. A bond of marriage shall apply in every case when a woman and a man come together for forming a line family, and it makes no difference whether the bond is concluded between the man and woman by their own volition, endeavor and decision, or by an assessment and conclusion through the authority marriage performed by them. And in the bond of marriage, the woman and man shall be joined together in all things with the same duties and rights. 262. And it is not permitted that parents promise their children to their children in a bond of marriage at an earlier or later date, and it is not permitted for parents to force their children through give out and compulsion into concluding a bond of marriage, because woman and man are free to determine, make decisions, and are free in their opinion and inclination as to entering a bond of marriage. And it is also not permitted for siblings to force their siblings into a bond of marriage through give out and compulsion if this is not in accordance with the free will of the pressed sibling. And it is not permitted for relations or non-relations to force a woman or a man into a marital bond in any way. Therefore it is also not permitted for children to enter into a marital bond with one another before the time when they have grown out of childhood and have therefore reached their full swelling growth / adulthood. And it is not permitted for a woman or a man to be purchased in order to enter a bond of marriage. 263. And neither a man or a woman shall be married, no matter how much they may like one another, if they curse the truth of the laws of the primal power creation, the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, because they are not merely unknowing in the truth but are without equitableness, unfair ones / irresponsible ones / inequitable ones, who are wallowing in falsehood, practicing evil and conducting their life in degeneracy. Even a woman who is unknowing in the truth or a man who is unknowing in the truth is better than those to whom the truth is a bane. If you marry someone to whom the truth is a bane, then you will have no joy with them, find no well-being and no love, as well as no comfort and no peace, and neither freedom nor consonance harmony, but only maliciousness and strife, as well as discord and affliction. Those who curse the real truth call to the fire of degeneracy and destruction. Therefore through them there can be no ongoing existence of a bond of marriage. Therefore know what a woman and a man are reflecting and striving for, so that a wise decision may be taken about them. 264. And if you marry believers who attach themselves to gods or tin gods, then protect yourself from their belief, so that you do not fall into the same water in which the belief in their gods or tin gods is swimming. 265. And if a woman is having a monthly cleansing menstruation, then the man shall not go to the woman, but stay away from her womb throughout the days of cleansing and for 2 days thereafter, until she is once again clean. When the woman is once again cleansed, then the man may go to her again, as is given to you as a duty and a source of enjoyment. And all those who keep to the recommendation live in rationality and in equitableness, fairness, because they are the ones who keep themselves clean. 266. The woman is not the man's property of sensuality, sexuality, which he may approach when and how he will, because the woman's volition and need are preconditions in order to complete the sexual intercourse. Therefore a willing mutuality shall be given so that the woman and man share the same volition, so that no compulsion is exerted. And if two woman and man sleep together willingly, then it shall be given that love and the goodness are granted in advance, so that both may encounter one another in dignity and love and fulfill their act of love in the same manner. 267. And a bond of purely same-gender concordance partnership is permitted, thus between woman and between man and man, so that they live together in communality with equal rights in all things. However, the bond between man and man shall be such that they do not change their appearance nature, in order to be able to bear children, so that they do not violate the laws and the regulation of the primal power creation. And in same-gender concordance between partners it is permitted for sensuality sexual doings to take place as with heterosexual concordance. 268. And it is permitted to the woman as well as to the man to bestow pleasure, satisfaction or self-gratification on her or his own sexual organ, because it is in the appearance nature of the two and it does not infringe the laws of the primal power creation to do such. 269. And the sexual misuse of children is a serious outrage and a shameful act against the children and the laws of the primal power creation. Therefore such an act is to be condemned with hard punishment of the execution of fulfillment of guidelines, a separation of men or separation of women, banishment and exclusion from the people/society, separated by gender, and with dishonor for the necessary time. 270. And if you beget offspring, then first consider whether you have the capability and possibility to bring up and feed children truly rightfully, and so it shall be that no illnesses are present for the offspring which they could inherit. Therefore it shall not be permitted for deracinated essential ones, and enemies of people, enemies of society, to have offspring, nor shall it be permitted to those who use Gewalt and those who threaten the life and safety of the people, terrorists, etc., also those who are incapable of bringing up and nourishing children, as well as those who are confused and sick in their inner world consciousness, and in their psyche, as well as those with inherited diseases and those addicted to fermented juices and medicines and intoxicants, drugs or narcotics, shall not be allowed to beget offspring. Offspring shall only be permitted in the number of 3 per woman and in one marital bond. Therefore the number of 3 offspring per woman also applies if a former bond has been dissolved and the letter of separation given. And if then a new bond is entered into, if the woman already has 1 child from a previous marital bond, then the number of 2 offspring shall not be exceeded in a further bond, so that the number of 3 children applies per woman. 271. And the recommendation is given that mothers must nourish their children, infants, at their breast for 2 years, so that the children receive all the necessary nourishment for their health and survival throughout their entire life, because the mother's nourishment is of great importance, and the begetter of the child shall be obliged to provide for the child's mother and the child's nourishment and clothing in accordance with the customs and habits of the people in question. However, the father of the child shall not be imposed upon beyond his ability, so that he can carry out his duty in honor and dignity. Therefore the child's mother shall not allow the father to suffer, nor her child, nor shall the child's father allow the mother and the child to suffer, and the same thing applies to the godparents and the siblings and relatives or other wardens and the heirs. 272. If the mother and father decide for whatever reasons in joint agreement regarding the health of the child or of the mother, and following good advice, that the child shall be weaned off the mother's breast, then that is their concern and no reproach shall be offered. And if the mother is unable to nourish her child at her own breast, then the wet nurse may be taken for breastfeeding the child, but the wet nurse must receive an agreed upon payment in accordance with equitableness, fairness,